The tool that I used today in the videos that you saw is actually pretty simple. All it is an extension for your Chromebook called Screencastify, and a cord that my IT Rex 3 gave me. Shout out Rex. um, just connects to your Chromebook, and you use the Screencastify to model what you're doing under your document camera. The way that I did it today and the modeling that I did actually works very well for them sitting at their computers and watching it one-on-one. They see it up close and they hear my own voice with its nuances and everything teaching them, so they're very comfortable with it. The curriculum that I used today is third grade motivation math. The videos that I did today are modeling data analysis and summarizing data. I use these videos to introduce a concept or introduce a lesson. The kids follow along as I model one problem. And then I ask them to pause the video and they solve a problem that's very similar to the first one on their own. After that, they resume the video and they can self-check their work. I also use what I'm doing today to do oral administration of math tests as well as target reading. So. I especially like to use these blended learning videos during my guided math workflow. So essentially what I do is I post a list of things that I expect my students to get done within the class period. And the first thing on that list is always going to be the guided math, or not the guided math, but the video that they are supposed to follow, the blended learning video. And as they are following that, I am pulling students to my back table running guided math. So essentially it puts me in two places at once. I'm teaching on the computer, but I'm also teaching guided math. I also enjoy using it interactively, especially with my lower groups or groups that are struggling with a concept. I will have the video playing up on the screen whole class while I am walking around the room, making sure kids are following along and listening and writing things down. That way I can get a really good idea of who gets it and who doesn't. In those videos, I ask a lot of questions. So interactively, I can pause, I can have students come up, they can answer in front of the class, they can show what they're thinking, they can write it down, so it almost becomes shared math then. Also, with the workflow, you can make it specific for each group, because we all know we have kids that are really high achievers and we have kids that just don't get it sometimes. So in that workflow, for the kids that maybe are struggling, maybe they need to look at a video where it's just area, very basic, but your average group and your high group are ready to go on to composite figures and finding area of composite figures. So you can really make it targeted and TEKS specific and skill specific for your different learners in your classroom.
Hey guys, it's Miss Johnson, and we're here today to talk about data analysis. Oh boy, don't you just love some data? Okay, today we're focusing specifically on what? You guys should know what this is. What is that? Yes, a bar graph. We're focusing on how not only to interpret or summarize this data, but also how to answer those tricky 1- and 2-step problems. So we know that there's multi-step problems for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, but did you know there's also multi-step problems for data analysis? So we're going to look into some of the strategies it takes to do this today. So let's go ahead and read the instructions and figure out what we're doing here. I'm on page 295 in your purple math book. 295 in your purple math book. Okay? So I'm not even going to look at that yet. I just want to look here. Use the graph to answer questions 1, 2, and 3. The graph shows how many minutes Abby spent practicing the piano each day this week. I'm looking at this graph. And I know when I see a graph, I need to interpret it and understand it. So I see this is piano practice. These are the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I see this is a horizontal bar graph. Down here we have the number of minutes, and I notice it's counting by what? Yeah, fives. So I'm going to make sure I notate that. Now, because it is a bar graph, what do I need to write next to each bar? Yeah, I need to write the totals. So I'm going to look at Monday, and I see Monday is at 35. Tuesday, whoa, she practiced 40 minutes. Wednesday, 25. Thursday is 30. Friday is 20. Now, typically, if we have these, we need to check the intervals, which we know this is by fives. Sometimes we have to fill in the spaces in between. On this problem, we didn't have to do that, but just watch out because sometimes you might have to. Now, I think we've analyzed, we've labeled, we've circled, we understand what this is telling us. Now I can move on to answering the question. So the first question is asking, how much more time did Abby practice on Monday than on Friday? Whoa. Does anything stick out to you guys there? Yeah, me too. How much more? How much more always means what, y'all? I hope you said subtract. Okay. Did Abby practice on Monday than on Friday? So I'm comparing Monday and Friday. So do I need to know Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right now? No, but I'm not going to cross it off because I have to use this graph to answer questions 2 and 3 as well. So how much more? Well, I need to take the information from Monday, take the information from Friday, and then I know how much more means subtract. I'm going to subtract the 2. 5 minus 0, that's 5. 3 minus 2, it's 1. So she practiced 15 minutes more on Monday than on Friday. Notice I pulled this information directly from here. Okay, that was pretty easy, but I think they're probably going to get harder. Let's look at number 2. On which days did Abby practice less than 30 minutes? Notice less than. So I know that means this, less than. And I'm looking for things that are less than 30. So I'm going to go back up to my chart. Was Monday less than 30? No. Is Tuesday less than 30? No. Wednesday? Yes. Right. W for Wednesday. Is Thursday less than 30? No. Thursday is equal to 30, but it is not less than 30. So I cannot add it to my answer. What about Friday? Yes. So there are only 2 days she practiced less than 30 minutes. That was Wednesday and Friday. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Let's keep moving. Number 3. Ooh. What was the total amount of time in minutes Abby practiced piano this week? Does anything stand out to you guys? Yeah, I'm thinking total amount. What's that going to mean in this case? Yeah, add. When I'm talking total amount, it's asking for the total amount of everything here. So I need to add up all of that. I need to write those down. It says show your work. So 35, 40, 25, 30, 20. Now, if you can't add this way, you can add 2 at a time. You guys know that works too. 5, 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 3, 13. 13 plus 2, 15. So what was the total amount of time she practiced for the week? 150 minutes. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So notice I used this information to solve several different types of problems. So now you're going to turn that page to 296. I know, I like to throw a tough one at you. Notice you're using the graph to answer questions 1 and 2. Here's your graph. This time we've got a vertical bar graph, so remember how to read that. Then you're going to answer questions 1 and 2 using this bar graph. You will do that now independently and pause the video. Once you have answered both questions, you may come back, resume the video, and Ms. Johnson will work through it with you. You will check your work with me. So go ahead and pause this video now. All right, since you're back and you're listening, you've shown all your work, you've done the best you can. So let's work through this together. This graph shows the number of students who voted for different field trips. Each student could vote for 1 trip. I see my graph, and I know I need to point out the important information. So this is the field trips, number of students, and where they went. So they went to the museum, the zoo, theater, library, park. I notice it's counting by what? Yeah, tens. But on this one, I see there's intervals halfway between each 10. So let's see. 0, what would this be? Good. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Beautiful. Make sure you fill in those intervals. Now, how many people went to the museum, or how many people voted for the museum? 40. The zoo, 35. Theater, 20. Library, whoa, 45. The park, 30. Perfect. So I've summarized, I know, I understand. Now I can move to the questions. The first question asks which equation, remember equation's a number sentence, could be used to find how many more students voted for the museum than the park. What jumps out at us? Me too. How many more? How many more always means, yes, subtract. So I can look through, if these are all subtraction, but sometimes they would throw an addition one in there and I would be able to get rid of that because how many more does not mean add. And I notice I'm comparing the museum, which is 40, to the park, which is 30. So I need to find the one that says 40 minus 30. 40 minus 30 is 10. Well, that's true. 40 minus 25? Nope. 35 minus 30? Nope. 45 minus 20? Nope. This is going to be my green answer. Good, guys. To me, we've got several red answers because based on this information, nothing else really truly makes sense. This might be a yellow answer just because they're taking 40 and subtracting from it. Excellent. Now, this is a tricky one. Based on the information, which statement is true? We're looking for true or false. We've really got to reason through these statements, guys, okay? So, twice as many. What does that mean? Oh yeah, times 2. Voted for the library than the park. So library was how many? 45. Park was 30. Well, is 30 times 2 45? No. So this is false. That's not going to work. Okay. 25 more students voted for the zoo than the theater. Well, here's the zoo. Here's the theater. 25 more. So 35 minus 20 is only 15, not 25. So is that true? No. 10 more students wanted to go to the zoo than the park. The zoo is 35. Park is 30. It's only a difference of 5. So that's not 10 more. Man, they really made us work for it, didn't they? Let's see. Half as many. So remember, half means divide by 2. Voted to go to the theater than the museum. So the theater is 20. The museum is 40. So did half as many, is 20 half of 40? Well, yes, it is. So we found our answer. Good job, guys. You may go ahead and keep this in your motivation book, and we will continue on with our workflow. Thank you.
So blended learning for me as a teacher allows me to not only teach a guided math lesson at my back table, but it also lets me teach an additional lesson through the use of technology. It excites me when my students are working and they're understanding, and then I pull them back for guided math and they already have some concept of what we're doing. So the guided math lesson moves a little bit smoother and faster, and then it also lets me see, where are the struggles at? What's going on in their little brains? When I feel like kids are continuing to struggle, sometimes it's just one kid struggling with something, and that's really hard to pull them back one-on-one and do a refresher. So you can just refer them to this list of videos and say, hey, I really need you to go look at the strategies for 2-digit by 1-digit multiplication. And that kid can go back and work through that video, and it's still with you, but you're also able to do something else. So essentially, it frees up so much time for me to do what I do best, which is actually teach. I know to a lot of people, blended learning sounds like a lot of extra work. You have to sit, you've got to make videos, you've got to take your conference to do it, but in actuality, I can get a whole week's worth of lessons done, 3 to 5 videos in my planning period, or maybe even less time. So I can teach on technology, and I can also teach in the classroom. I'm in 2 places at once giving this knowledge to these kiddos.